Hello, so you know the drill by now. Going to go through the questions, follow along, correct yours. Now I'll have a chat about sort of some common mistakes that I saw when I was marking them. The first question, you had some percentages of women who died in two different wards, and some information on who worked where and when. And your first question was you had to look at Ward A and B after 1840, so after this point, and comment on what it was like having only nurses in Ward B. To gain full marks, you must refer to the data in Table 1. Some of you only got 1 out of 2 because you didn't give me some figures, okay? So you could approach it from two ways. You could approach it from what it's like now only having doctors in Ward A and what it's like having only nurses in Ward B. So if you went for Ward B, they had a decrease in death, and then you could have given me sort of those two numbers. So it went down from 7.8% to 2.1%. Or if you'd done it from the idea of Ward A, had an increase in deaths, and then same, you could have used those numbers, that it went up from that to that, or even that to that. Suggest an explanation for the difference you described in part A. Now, a lot of you got the first part, the idea that the doctors are spreading or transferring something, but didn't get the second part because what a lot of you were saying is that they're spreading the disease, which scientifically isn't correct. They are spreading the bacteria or the virus or the pathogen that causes the disease. Disease is caused by the pathogen, the bacteria, the virus, whatever's making you sick. The disease itself doesn't get spread. It's the little germs, but don't use the word germs. So because they're spreading the pathogen, or you could have said virus or bacteria instead. Okay, and 1847 told them to wash their hands, blah 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 blah, and it shows table. What evidence is there to support Dr. Semmelweis telling doctors to wash their hands? Use information from Table 1 and Table 2. Okay, well, if you look at Table 1, it was 11.3 and it went down to 2.7 and 2. So first mark, okay, the massive decrease in Ward A, which is the ward you need to look at because doctors are the only ones working in Ward A. There's no difference in Ward B. So the one with only nurses pretty much stays the same or has very little difference. And Ward A continued to drop throughout. So Ward A kept getting better. And when you're talking about the decrease, probably give again some figures. In modern hospitals, less than 0.1% of women die from diseases after giving birth. Medical understanding is improved, blah 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 blah. 2 reasons for the low death rate of infectious diseases in modern hospitals. So lots of different ideas. The better understanding of immunity, or you could have also said for that point vaccine, that are created. We've got better or new drugs. It's the idea that we've got better or new treatment, and then the idea of cleanliness. Okay, now hygiene on its own wasn't enough. You had to give examples such as sterilizing equipment, isolating or quarantining of patients, that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, question 2. Rose black spot is disease of the roses. What type of microorganism? This was from your fact file that I asked you to do, and black rose spot is a fungus. Incidentally, it's the only fungus that you need to know about. Okay, B. Explain how animals defend themselves against microorganisms. Again, check how many marks a question is worth. Some of you were giving very brief summaries. So there are lots of different ways. There's sort of ways inside the body and ways outside the body. From the outside, you've got your skin, which creates a barrier. You've got the mucus and cilia in nose, airways, which traps and removes pathogens. To fully answer this, you need to give the reasons how each one helps. So it's not just enough to say you've got skin, you've got mucus and cilia. You need to say why those things are useful. You've got acid in your stomach, which kills bacteria. And then if things get through those layers, you could have also mentioned the enzymes in tears. You've got your white blood cells, okay, and they have 3 ways. They have antibodies, which kill pathogens. They have antitoxins, which sort of combat the poisons that bacteria release. And they also do this thing called phagocytosis. Now, that's a keyword that, if you can remember, is really useful. However, if you can't, you can describe what phagocytosis is, which is when the white blood cell engulfs and digests the pathogen. Okay, now here was a bit about an experiment. We actually did this experiment. We did it when we were doing cells topic, and it's how we can grow the bacteria we want safely without having it spread around the lab, spread onto us, or without introducing any bacteria or nasty stuff that we don't want to grow. So it gave you an overview of the method and asked you to give some suggestions of how they could make this method better. So it was any 3 from the following list. Make sure that agar that you put in the petri dish is sterile. That's the little jelly stuff that it grows on. You need to sterilize the petri dish. You need to clean your bench or your workspace before and after. You need to take your inoculating loop, so the little spreading thing. So loop needs to be disinfected, either through disinfectant or through Bunsen to kill any bacteria. Oh, disappearing off the side. You need to tape down the lid, but not completely, as the bacteria still needs oxygen to respire. So tape down the lid, and lifting the lid of the dish or of the bottle as little as possible, so that the time that this is open and the time that this is open is relatively short, so bacteria can't get out of here and bacteria that you don't want can't get into here. Okay, why did the student grow the bacteria at 25 rather than 40 degrees? This we do in a school lab because it prevents the growth of harmful pathogens, harmful bacteria or viruses or anything like that. In a hospital lab where things are a lot more rigorous and a lot safer, they would grow bacteria for testing and so forth at body temperature, because that's what they like best, which is 37 degrees. And they would grow more quickly, but they have the methods there to be a lot more safe. So in school labs, we do it at 25, because that's the maximum temperature for speed, but it doesn't grow harmful bacteria. Or at least there's less chance of it growing harmful bacteria. Question 3. Eating food containing salmonella bacteria can cause illness. 2 symptoms of infection are vomiting and diarrhea. What causes these symptoms? A lot of you wrote bacteria, which is true, but it's not the bacteria themselves. It's what they do. And bacteria make us sick because they release toxins. Or, if you can't remember the word toxins, poisons. That's not how you spell poison. There we go. Give 2 ways a person with a mild infection of salmonella can help prevent the spread of bacteria to other people. Now, lots of you for this were talking about hand washing, and you were saying regularly or frequently, which is true for viruses, which are a lot easier to spread, but there's really only 1 or 2 ways that bacteria get from one person to another, and that's through contaminated food or not washing your hands after the bathroom. So yes, washing hands is an answer, but you needed to say when was key. So before and after toilet, loo, or before and after cooking food. So that was 1. Needs to say 2 things. You could isolate yourself from other people, so no spread. You could disinfect your clothes or any surfaces that you've used. Or you could not share things like towels or cutlery if you're living with someone who is infected. What type of drug can the doctor prescribe to kill the bacteria? I haven't actually done this, so this was a bit of look up the answer for yourself, and that is an antibiotic. As part of this topic, we do go into a bit more about drugs, the useful kind, not any other kind, and antibiotics kill bacteria. Only bacteria infections. A person with AIDS may take longer than a healthy person to recover from salmonella infection. Explain why. Well, if you've got AIDS, then you have an infection of HIV, which is one of the viruses that you had to look up for your little fact file. And HIV infects your white blood cells. Okay, so first mark something about your white blood cells or your immune system being less effective because it's infected with this virus, and therefore it's less likely that your white blood cells can kill the salmonella. That second point was the trickier one and the one that less of you got. So it's less likely the white blood cells can kill the salmonella because your white blood cells are infected themselves and not working as they should. Salmonella bacteria can be transmitted from chickens to humans. Chickens can be vaccinated to prevent the transmission. Suggest one other way farmers could prevent the transmission of salmonella from chicken to humans. Now, I think this question was trying to get a like in the farm, because a lot of you said to cook the chicken. I think it's saying like from the farmers to the chickens, because it specified farmers here. So I think that's why I couldn't give cooking as an answer. So there's 3 answers that they accepted. You could give the chicken antibiotics or some kind of medicines. to prevent the spread. You could not sell any chickens or any eggs from the chickens that they are infected. Yeah. Or the last, oh no, there's two more. You can isolate any infected chickens. Or the last point is that you could get rid of infected chickens. The word they used was slaughter. Doesn't sound nice, but it is how they deal with outbreaks in farming all the time. I don't know why hygiene and washing between going to see the chickens and not wasn't a mark, but it wasn't. Take your questions and concerns up with AQA if you are so inclined. Okay, then you had a bit about a restaurant using different cleaning stuff and seeing how effective they were. So which one was most effective? Give a reason for your answer. 1 mark, so you had to say which one and your reason for the 1 mark. B was the most effective because it had the biggest decrease in number of bacteria. Scientists investigated the effect of cleaning liquid A and B on salmonella grown in a laboratory. Figure 2 shows the way the investigation was set up. Oh, there we go. It's left for 48 hours. Calculated the area around each of the discs where no bacteria was growing. What measurement would the scientists need to take to calculate the area? So we're looking at the area of circles. So an area for circles is pi r squared. Now pi is not a measurement, it's a constant. It's something to do with circles. Ask a maths teacher. So the thing that you need is what r is. And r is the radius of the area with no bacteria. You could have said the diameter as well, because you can work out radius from the diameter, because radius is the whole way across the circle. Radius is half the way across the circle. Diameter is all the way across the circle. Give 1 change to the investigation that would allow the scientists to check if the results are repeatable. Now, if something is repeatable, it means you can do it lots of times with the same method and get the same results. So 1 change is that you repeat it or do it multiple times. And here's where some of you fell down, you were close, compare results with previous experiment. Okay, and last question. Scientists showed the results to the restaurant owner. Both cleaning liquids cost the same per decimeter cubed. Suggest 1 other factor the restaurant owner should consider when choosing which cleaning liquid to use. Again, there was quite a list that you could have picked from, but whether or not it is safe or toxic or has side effects, because people are going to be eating there, whether or not it kills other bacteria, because this results show you how effective it is at killing salmonella, so it's other bacteria or other pathogens that they may want to know. Does it interact with other cleaners? There's lots of cleaners that you can't use at the same time because they form quite a toxic mixture. Bleach is one that's really bad. Never mix bleach with anything. It could be the last thing you do. How easy it is to use? Does it require some kind of really complicated dilution process or cleaning implements? I don't know, special scrubber. Blah, blah, blah. And how long it's effective for. So if it cleans it and leaves it clean for, you know, a good couple of hours, that's pretty good. If it's only clean for a couple of minutes, that's not so good. Alrighty, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments of Show My Homework, and I will get back to you. Enjoy.